And you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. I really wish I was part of an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon. You know those dudes, they have their balls out and they throw spears at helicopters every now and then? I reckon I could have fit into that life. You live off the land, you know the jungle, your balls are out all the time. You can do ayahuasca, your balls are out heaps. It seems like paradise. It'd be great. It always depresses me when I hear about these uncontacted tribes. Being contacted, just leave them the fuck alone, alright? They don't need McDonald's or a job at the Nike factory, alright? Just leave them the fuck alone. I remember this story I heard. I can't remember where I heard it. I don't even know if it's real. I might have hallucinated it one time. But I think I may have heard it at university. One of the times I attended and was half listening. But I remember hearing this story about these two Aboriginal guys in maybe the late 70s. They had been living in the outback of Australia in like the Northern Territory or something. Just full desert bush. There's nothing out there. God knows how they live out there. A whitey would be dead in 12 hours out there. I would be dead in 4. If you sent me into the Northern Territory outback with no sunscreen and no shade, I would be dead in 4 hours. Not even that, I would kill myself after 2. But these two dudes walked out of the desert and hit a road and they're like, what the fuck is this? What's this thing? And I think cars were going past and shit and they were like, what was that funny looking kangaroo? But they had been living in the desert that whole time. During the whole colonization of Australia, they'd never come in contact with civilization. And they walked out of the desert and they were about to get a rude fucking surprise. Have I told that story before on this podcast? I can't remember. Have I told a story that may or may not be real twice now? I hope it's real because it's a good story. They should make a movie of that and call it like The Gods Must Be Crazy or some shit. But despite the fact of how fucking horrifically the Aboriginal people have been treated in Australia since colonization, the Aboriginals in Australia have still been able to manage to keep their culture together, just. In Australia, there's a place called Arnhem Land. It's Aboriginal land, and there's like 30,000 Aboriginals living in Arnhem Land, just as though white settlers never arrived. It's all traditional laws out there. Our shitty laws don't apply out there. I guess the elders take care of it. Like if someone fingers someone else's wife, they get stoned to death. And that's how it should be. A good old-fashioned stoning. Why did stonings ever go out of fashion? I think they'll make a comeback in the next decade or so. Like 20,000 is not that much when you consider there was about 1 million Aboriginals when white people arrived here. But 20,000 is pretty good on the world scale. You go to New Zealand, there's not even one full-blooded Maori left. The closest you're going to get to Maori culture is going to the Maori village in Rotorua, where they drag some people off the street, paint them in war paint, and pretend to do war dances. And I will say this, I quite enjoyed it. Like, I mean, it was the fakest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, but I still enjoyed it. I was like, oh my God, what's the Maori chief gonna do next? And then they had a hungy afterwards, which is the traditional Maori way to cook food. You bury it in the ground, you put coals and wet hessian and shit on it, and it comes out beautiful. Unless it's done by your dad's Maori mate Neville, who had probably never seen a fucking hungy before, let alone cooked one. Then it comes out more like charcoal. You can't tell whether you're biting into a chicken drumstick or a fucking bit of hard coal. Neville's actually dead now, so he's cooked his last fucking hungy. But the Aboriginals here did not give a fuck. They did not want any part of the fucking white process. And I can't blame them either. One day you're sitting around the campfire, your balls are out, they're all warm, they're all toasty. You're loving life. The next day, some white cunt's throwing a pair of undies at you saying, throw these on. They'll snug up your balls. You're like, fuck, my balls have been perfectly toasty for the last 80,000 years, mate. Now fuck off. I found this extract from James Cook, Captain James Cook's diary, describing his first thoughts about the Aboriginal people when he first encountered them. And it pretty much sums up how I feel about European culture as well. That's why I want to be part of an uncontacted tribe. Okay, so this is from Captain James Cook's diary before he got speared in the face in Hawaii by the locals. Okay, here it is. From what I have said about the natives of New Holland, they may appear to some to be the most wretched people on earth, but in reality, they are far more happier than we Europeans, being wholly unacquainted not only with the superfluous but necessary conveniences so much sought after in Europe, they are happy in not knowing the use of them. They live in a tranquility which is not disturbed by inequality of condition. The earth and the sea of their own accord furnishes them with the things necessary for life. They covet not magnificent houses and household stuff. They live in a warm and fine climate and enjoy a very wholesome air, so that they have very little need of clothing, and this they seem to be fully sensible of, for many to whom we gave clothing to, left it carelessly upon the sea beach, in the woods, as a thing they had no manner of use for. In short, they seemed to set no value upon anything we gave them, nor would they ever part with anything of their own for any one article we could offer them. This, in my opinion, argues that they think themselves provided with all the necessaries of life, and that they have no superfluities. I tell you what's superfluous, me reading out that fucking diary entry from fucking Captain James Cook. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. See you the fuck later.